Pride and Prejudice, chapter 6, fifth video. Well, we're in the middle of a point Charlotte was trying to make. So I'm just going to read from the beginning of the chapter. And that will be the review. I won't ask questions. Well, said Charlotte, I wish Jane success with all of my heart. And if she were to marry him tomorrow, I should think she had as good a chance of happiness as if she were to be studying his character for a 12-month. Happiness in marriage is entirely a matter of chance. Sorry, but before we go there, do you agree? Of course, I'm not saying entirely to chance. I'm not being as radical, as she is. It's like, oh, I'm going to close my eye and pick someone out on the street and that's going to be my husband. But, there are some couples, and that's an interesting fact. There are some couples who date for 6, 7, 8 years, right? I've known people who dated for 8 years or even more. And I've seen some cases, then they get married. And once they get married, I don't know, a year passes and they break up, right? There are other cases where people date for a very short period of time. And I think I am a good example there. I think I dated my wife for 3 months, and we got married, 3 months and we got married. And we've been married for more than 15 years now. But then my question is, of course, with my examples, it seems like I'm, putting a bias on your answer. But maybe my wife and I got lucky, all right? And those guys who dated for a long time were not lucky. But then why? And then of course, I'm not saying the hundreds and thousands of cases when people date for a long time, get married, and they keep on, married, and date for a short time, get married, and break up. Okay. Las Vegas marriage tends to be like that. Okay, but then why do those cases happen? People that date for a long time break up, and people who date for a short time don't. So try to answer, because after that I'll answer myself, and I don't want my opinion, right? I don't want to influence you. Okay, so answer. Well, I guess there is, first, in the first case, there is, of course, in 8 years you can get to know the person very well, but 8 years of dating is not the same thing as being together, living together, I think there are some things that are very, very important people take for granted, right? Oh, you wake up with the person every morning. Yes, that counts. But then you have, those little meaningless everyday activities and worries you have to have, right? Now you have to worry about mediocre things. You're not worried about, going to a restaurant and, a nice place to travel together. Or, no, you have to worry about, cleaning the house, sharing the bill. Are we going to buy new glasses, So we have those very simple things, and the cooking, who's going to cook, and etc. and etc. and etc. And then you have the fact that once you think you are I'm married, so you kind of relax, right? And then this relaxing can be like letting the other people alone, or forgetting a little bit about the other person, even though you love the person. But you don't need to make that much effort, because the person's already my wife, right? So I think that's explains a little bit about the first case. The second case, in my case, I can tell by my own experience, Uh, Once you decide you are married, you work to make it work, right? So we're married. If you have that thing in mind, then uh, I don't know, things work. You know, they work not because we fit perfectly together, because we're destined to be together. No, because we're going to work and make it work. On this aspect, I'm sorry if you are not as traditional as I am. I don't see it as a fantastic thing, the liberty we have today of getting a divorce. Don't get me wrong, I really think people should have the right to get a divorce, but I think it should be a big, 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 big deal, you know? So, of course, things are not a matter of right here or right here, right? So we have to find the balance. Of course, in the past, women would be beat up and they would have to be married, or people would cheat on each other, right? Women would cheat on their husbands would cheat on their wives, but because you could never get a divorce, you know, they would just keep on doing that. That's too much. But then nowadays, it's too much to decide, oh no, we don't fit together, you know, people say. If it were a little bit more of a big deal, no, this person is my husband, this person is my wife. Oh, she has a lot of defects, we don't fit together very well. Oh, that's your problem, you married the person, so make it work, you know? I think if people had that thing in mind, it doesn't matter, I have to make it work, and made a big effort and just left divorce for the last consequences, then I think things would work. Not because of you know, it's nice, because sometimes it's just like a job. You have to plan and do everything that is necessary. Well, I went very far, right? I'm sorry about that, but maybe Charlotte is a little right. Maybe, I'm just talking about this discussion. I'm not talking about the rest, what will happen in the rest. I'm talking about this discussion. Maybe Lizzie is going too much to one side and Charlotte is going too much to the other side. Maybe the idea is once you are married, you're going to work and you're going to make it work. So maybe Charlotte is a little bit right in that aspect, right? But again, let's not exaggerate, okay? Let's not go to the direction she's going. Well, so I think, no, I should think she had as good a chance of happiness as if she were to be studying his character for a 12-month. Happiness in marriage is entirely a matter of chance. If the disposition of the parties are ever so well known to each other, or ever so similar beforehand, ever is like so much, right? The dispositions, both of them wanted the same thing, both of them have similar I don't know, characters and etc. beforehand, before they get married, it does not advance their felicity in the least. It doesn't help at all, right? And I believe my digression kind of explained this sentence here, right? They always continue to grow sufficiently unlike afterwards to have their share of vexation. Sufficiently unlike what is my question? Answer. Sufficiently unlike what they were before. Okay, so we are always growing, we're always changing, and that can cause many, many troubles. And it is better to know as little as possible of the defects of the person with whom you are to pass your life. That's a very nice sentence, right? So she thinks it is better to know as little as possible of the defects of a person with whom you are to pass your life, right? I think, again, she is exaggerating, but again, we shouldn't think in absolute terms, thinking that, oh, just the love and etc. You know, it's very interesting. We see in those countries and where, I don't know, parents choose husbands and wives, right? Again, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending that kind of institution. So you have hundreds, all right, of horrible cases where people have to spend the rest of their lives with somebody they hate. But it's interesting. More often than not, you know, more often than not, those arranged marriages work. And then usually when I say that, people look at me and say, "Wow, but you are, what are you?" You know. Don't get me wrong. I think that kind of institution is very well banned. It's very nice that our parents or social position or anything chooses our partners. But that's not the point. This is not what I'm discussing here. What I'm discussing is, how is it possible that when that institution, which I don't want to come back, okay, was still very active in many countries, many cultures, how is it possible that so many marriages worked, you know? And again, a parenthesis here, we have to be very careful. We don't like the institution, right? I don't like the institution, you don't like the institution. We should be able to choose our partners. But because of that, sometimes we there is a word for that I'm, well, but we damage reality. We damage history. So, because we have a cause to defend, we say nobody who got married, you know, by arrangement was ever happy. You know, everybody suffered so much. Why? Because we want that strength in order to fight against the institution. That's why sometimes just when we are very far, historically speaking, from something, we are able to see it with unbiased eyes, right? But a very nice challenge for us is to try to see things with unbiased eyes, you know? So you're going to try to look at the thing objectively. And objectively looking at the thing, more often than not, those marriages worked, you know? People were happy. They got a husband they had never seen, they got a wife they had never seen, and they were happy, you know? And then the nice question is, how is it possible that it happened, right? Excluding those, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands of couples who were not happy. And I think mainly it's because of acceptance, you know? Well, he's my husband, well, she's my wife, so that's it, all right? And then by doing that, we can go back to my point there, acceptance. I'm not saying that we should ask our parents to decide, but once I've decided on a person, if I have at least a little bit of that spirit of those guys, you know, that mindset of those guys, I can say, well, I've decided, oh, but maybe I've decided wrong, maybe I could have gotten something better, maybe I can get something better. Doesn't matter. Now, it's just, it is as it is. She is your wife, he's your husband, and that, you know? So why am I showing you this? To explain, to help people find husbands and wives? No, I think that this kind of behavior, you know, this kind of posture we have in relation to history, not being too much to one side or too much to the other, you know, makes us discover many things. Well, very far I went. I could hardly finish this chapter. The next video, I promise I will read more and speak less, maybe